From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob Cairns. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief technologist at Stunning Digital Marketing. In today's show, I have Chris Panteli with me, and Chris and I are going to talk about PR in an AI world and link building in an AI world. The results might surprise you. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. The SDM Show is brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, the digital marketing concierge that helps you put all your marketing pieces together. We are your marketing experts. We are also your WordPress security experts and know how to lock down a website and protect yourself from bad actors. So contact us at Stunning Digital Marketing today. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. And on today's SDM Show, I have Chris Panteli with me. How are you doing today, Chris?
I'm good, thanks, Rob. Very good. How are you?
Doing well, considering all things concerned. And we're going to jump into AI and link building and PR in an AI world. There's those dreaded two words again, AI. I don't think I can get by a marketing discussion without mentioning them. But I have to ask you, how did you get into this crazy business, and what's your backstory a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, I was graduated from university with a degree in economics, and then I did what any half Greek Cypriot Englishman does after graduating from university, and took over the family fish and chip shop business. I did that for about 10 years. I got diagnosed type 1 diabetic at about the age of 33. About a year before that, I'd started a personal finance website and started making like some good money quickly. I'd always been interested in online marketing and business, and I'd started something which seemed to have like promise and potential. And I was looking for a way to get off my feet for 13 hours a day. And this seemed like once you make that first dollar online and you realize that it's possible, I was like, I got the bug, as it were. And then I started building links for my website via digital PR. So trying to engage with journalists in order to get tier 1 media coverage. And I met my now business partner when I was outsourcing for another type of link building. And he looked at my website and said, how did you get these like incredible links on BBC, Forbes, New York Times? And I said, I've been talking to journalists. And he said, did he think I could do that for some of his clients? I said we could give it a go, and we did. And then Linkify was organically born about half a decade ago, and haven't looked back since.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned you have type 1 diabetes. Diabetes is a fun one. I think I've told you I'm a type 2. I've been through 2 diabetic scares in my life, 2 hospital stays. One when I was diagnosed, and one about a year and a half ago. I had an abscess in the back of the neck, and it just exploded. And that was not a pretty sight. That was an 8-day. That was an 8-day ICU trip just to get the sugar back down. I mean, I'm fine, but it's something people like you and I are always concerned about. And frankly, we learn to live with it and we learn to manage it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, all the technology and everything is just getting better and better. So let's see where we are in 10 years' time.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, you got devices like the Libra where you just put it in and it measures your stuff to your smartphone. I don't use one right now. I used to. Because I'm checking my blood sugar a couple of times a week, so financially it just doesn't make sense. There's some really good devices out there, and there's some good medication out there. And you know, I would urge anybody who's got diabetes, talk to your doctor. Figure it out. I mean, if you watch your diet, it's not all that bad. Link building and PR. Right away, what comes to mind is a website called Help a Reporter Out, or HARO as it's called. You've heard about that. Are such like that valuable, or are they not valuable?
Yeah, I mean, I think massively valuable. It's an aggregator. It's a connecting platform to trying to connect sources, experts, business owners with journalists. So it provides value on both sides of the equation. The journalists are getting value from expert sources where they can bolster the quality and reliability of the articles that they're writing for the publications that they work for. And then the sources, the experts, are getting value because if the journalist cites and quotes them in a New York Times or Forbes, then that is brand mention, backlink, recognition for them and their business.
Yeah, and let's be fair, New York Times and Forbes are high quality sites. So that means in the backlink strategies, they're considered high quality backlinks, which have a higher ranking than throwing a backlink on Joe Schmo's blog somewhere, or you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think the way the Google's algorithm works in terms of backlinks is it's a fundamental bedrock of its ranking algorithm. A backlink is a vote of confidence from a more trusted and higher authoritative site. And we think Google will use a list of seed sites, so sites that it puts at the very top in terms of trust and authority, the likes of BBC and New York Times. And from these sites, it will pass the most amount of page rank or link equity, link juice to the sites that it's linking to. So if you are able to earn those links for your site, which more often than not are pointing to the root domain, then you can spread that link equity throughout your site and improve your keyword rankings, your organic traffic, and bada boom, bada bing, more business, more money.
Yeah, and what I would also add is you and I are doing a podcast right now, right? And well-known podcasts fall, and it's kind of not what we're talking about, but it kind of is they still provide backlinks that are well worth it in the long run. And let's be fair, that's one of the reasons why you're doing this show. Like, I'll be really honest, and I'm not saying you're right or you're wrong. I'm glad to have you, but let's be realistic, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, podcasts they're like you'll agree they're a lot of work. A lot of people don't like getting in front of the camera. You know, you do have to give up your time, but there's so many advantages to doing it. You get those show notes, those juicy show notes with a backlink. Those pages will often get indexed as well, which means that you're feeding the LLMs with this information about the topics that you want to be known for, that you want to discuss. Then you also, you do make friends, you network, you grow your own personal network. So there's so many advantages to it that it's just part of a wider brand building strategy, which works.
What I would say to anybody who's thinking about it, and then we'll move on, is after 600 episodes, which I've done, which is over since 2020, consistency and building. The big thing is I like more off is I get people like you and I get to talk and get to meet and get to share ideas. All the other stuff is bonus. Like, to me, that's important. That's the important thing. Feeding the LLMs and AI. How does the backlinks tie into AI at this point in time? Like, a lot of people don't see that connection. So could you share a little bit about how that works?
So I think there's two ways. One, we know that the LLMs do rely heavily on the Google index and the Bing index as well, with like Copilot and but by that very nature, the higher you are in Google, and it's not a one-to-one likeness. Like the LLMs won't pull the top 10 SERP results from Google as a like for like. Often it'll be much wider depth there. Maybe they'll pull from across 100 of the top results. But if you have more visibility in Google, then you do have more of a chance and a likelihood of being surfaced inside of the LLMs. And then secondly, one thing that we can see from empirical evidence is that the LLMs do have a high preference for brands. And one of the signals that demonstrably shows this is brand mentions. So the more times your brand can be mentioned, and you can think of a brand mention as just an unlinked mention. So if they said Chris Panteli from Linkify, if they haven't linked to me, but they've still contextually got Chris Panteli, co-founder of Linkify, if you still got those words in a high authoritative article, then the LLMs will see that. And that's just reinforcing that trust and that what I do, that contextual relevance of what it is that I do, and gives more information to the LLMs to trust you more and have more chance of surfacing you. So I think, and just as a summation of that I think the beauty of digital PR is it's two birds with one stone. A backlink via digital PR is almost always 99% of the time a homepage branded anchor text link. So they're going to quote you and link back to your homepage. And that in of itself is a brand mention. They are mentioning you and your brand. So it's double bubble.
Yeah. And one thing you meant, there's two things you mentioned in that's compelling. One, repetitive mentions, right? So there is, and I like to equate that to traditional PR. There's a reason why certain brands run multiple radio ads and multiple TV ads. It's the same thing. The more mentions, the more consistency, the more that brand stands out. So that's what you're doing there. And the second thing, you mentioned Copilot in that. A lot of people forget about Microsoft in this player, and Copilot and their tie-in to OpenAI has made Microsoft a big player in the AI game, whether people like it or not, which is actually one of the reasons is in the corporate world, most corporate machines in the business world running Windows are running Edge, which makes Copilot the default AI product on those machines. And people are forgetting about that. So what we're actually seeing is more and more people using Edge and more people using Copilot. So Bing's market share is actually increasing, not decreasing.
Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah. And I think the important thing to consider there is that we shouldn't, as let's say SEOs of old, be thinking to optimize for a single platform such as Google, but instead be aware of how to enhance our visibility everywhere. And that's the key.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I always say to my clients is if you're going to create a Google business profile, by the way, go ahead and create a Bing one and just tell it to bring in your info. Bing's got this cool little feature that says bring in all the information from the Google business profile back into Bing, so you don't have to maintain two profiles. But, it's one reason why I say because of AI, you should be doing that because then you're optimizing for multiple platforms. If I'm a client and I have got a widget, and I'm better still, I'm a client, I'm selling basketballs, a new basketball. And I come to your agency and I say, I need to talk to some journalists about my basketball. I need to get out there. We know the basketball game is dominated by big players like Wilson and Spalding and companies like that. How do you help me?
That is a tricky one. Product PR is inherently difficult because the value add is skewed when it comes to product PR. The company that wants to get PR exposure for their product really only wants one thing, which is exposure for their product. And it's hard for to see the value for the journalist unless this product massively improves people's lives or if there's a really interesting in hook. So I'm no expert in product PR. It is a different beast. But the way that I would see to flip that is what's the story? Who are the people behind that brand? Is there, a very forward-facing founder, somebody with a personal story where we could get exposure for that person and the brand, where they can offer value to journalists. Let's say this basketball it's a fitness tool. It's a way to stay healthy. That would be the way that I would do it because it's more of a value add and it's less like commercial.
I get that. Yep. And I think but even non-product PR, even a person or a company, I think something you said in that is really compelling, and that's telling the story. And I think storytelling with journalists is a big part of the getting out there and in front of them, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You have to think that the journalist is writing for a publication where they have bosses that they need to generate clicks and reads for the ad revenue. So the more interesting, engaging, real, genuine the messaging or the story can be, or the more that you can give value to that journalist, the more likelihood you have that they're going to engage with you, and then you'll get that value from whatever it is that the journalist decides to do with it. But it's tricky when Product PR specifically is tricky, but if you can find a story or an angle that resonates, then that's where you have a higher likelihood of exposure.
Okay, so product PR is tricky. Which types of PR work best then, going after backlinks, in your opinion?
Expert commentary, thought leadership.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is where journalists, and if you have skills, credentials, awards, accolades that you can demonstrably show, which often people do, and this works better in certain industries, I would say, although you can find a way to make it work for most industries. But in a real sort of easy example, if you take a real estate agent or a realtor, a brokerage owner, then they are by their very nature a professional realtor. So they have skills and credentials in real estate, and they'll have expert local knowledge of the area that they're operating in. And real estate, housing is a very PR friendly topic. So journalists are always looking to write stories about property prices, home staging, decorations, sales. So you can see how it's quite easy for a realtor to be giving value to a journalist that's writing a piece on anything to do with real estate or in the real estate space. You can also have, tech founders, people in fintech, if they've got finance credentials, anything where you can leverage a credential or an experience to a broader PR topic that makes sense is a way that you can engage the media, offer value, and hope that they think that your thoughts are interesting. They'll quote you. And then by way of attribution, you hope that they will also link to your website to attribute those quotes.
Yeah, I would expect so, because without linking to the website, it doesn't back up to credibility, right? So you need that. What's turnaround time typically when a client says, I want to get quoted, or I want to get attribution, or I want to provide thought leadership to publication? I know it varies, but are we talking a short turnaround? Are we talking a long turnaround typically?
It does vary. It can be reasonably quick. It all depends on the strength of that profile. And as we are in the era of AI, it also depends on how easy it is for the journalist to verify and trust this person. A lot of fake profiles have been set up in recent months and years. Journalists, they're very apprehensive and wary. So the easier that they can verify you, and you should be doing this anyway in terms of SEO and EEAT, a good about page, a good profile, boilerplate bio should be in multiple places across the internet, not just your website, but multiple social profiles, multiple different profile pictures. The more that you can do these things in order to feed the knowledge graph of who you are, and you are who you say you are, then the quicker you'll build trust with journalists. Having said that, most tier one publications do have quite long editorial lead time. So you might pitch a journalist today, they might respond to you and say, I love your quotes, and it might go live in a couple of weeks, couple of months. We had one travel client recently who we got quoted in tripadvisor.com, which is obviously one of the biggest travel websites in the world. And that took about 9 months for that article to go live. From when we pitched it to when that article went live was about 9 months, which is incredibly long amount of time, but worth the wait.
You mentioned having your profiles across the internet. The other thing I'd like to add to that is you should probably include maybe your founder story. If you started a company, what's the story behind your company? How did you become in this space? Because those stories are always compelling and interesting too.
Yeah, definitely. And we're finding that LLMs love and want to know that information as well. They want to know the year that your company was founded. They want to know the founder story. Like they like to see that information, and they like to see a consensus of that information as well. So they don't want you to change your story. So don't tell a founder story on your website and then tell a different variation of your founder story on a podcast and then have it written somewhere differently on it. Try and derive consensus from consistency and accuracy of the information that you're giving about yourself.
Yeah, no question. And Google certainly in traditional search also looks for consistency as well, and we know
100%.
that. I would say if this is the type of approach that you're looking at going, what I would do too, and maybe I'm wrong, but as a business owner and an entrepreneur and a founder has done really well, I would say create yourself a media kit as well. Do you have a media kit that's got basic things like your about page story text pulled out, your founder story pulled out, headshots, links to current stuff, and make it really easy for anybody who wants to quote you, because then you give them the background, say, by the way, also, here's my media kit.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a really great piece of advice. We don't see that a lot in the industry, but it's not something which takes a massive amount of time to put together. And it goes to what I was saying before, which is how can you, as quickly as possible, instill trust and authenticity into who you are, and just having a media kit is another bow in that feather. Does that make sense? Bow in that feather? Bow in
it does.
Feather
it
in
does.
the bow.
It does. So, Chris, when he comes to you and they want some help with PR, the gentleman's a thought leader in tech. There's an easy one. Tech people are quoted all the time. You kind of go about getting them connected with journalists. Can you share a little bit about the process? Or?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it at the top of the show. One of the most well-known platforms, HARO, Help a Reporter Out, has been around for close to 2 decades now. It was started by a guy called Peter Shankman, who then sold it to Sission. Sission then sort of ran it into the ground, and then it got bought back this year by another gentleman called Brett Familio. Since then, Peter Shankman's released another version, like a 2.0 called Source of Sources. We have other platforms like Press Plugs, Editorial, Response Source, Quoted, spelt with a Q, QWOTED. And then there's journalists that are proactively sourcing experts directly across social media as well, across a number of verticals, interior design, real estate, finance, tech. You can quite easily find the prominent and prolific journalists in each vertical. You can follow them on social, and you'll see quickly that they'll be consistently sourcing for experts on articles that they're working on, and you can follow those and set alerts. There's a bunch of places that you can go, and then I can talk some strategies there on how to succeed.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, you talked about it before, things like media kits, having that clear visibility of who you are, those trust signals. And then you know what the biggest trick is, and my mom used to tell me this when I was at school, and we used to have to do exams, and she used to say, read the bloody question, because the amount of journalists that we speak to that get annoyed because they've asked for 3 tips and somebody's responded with 100 tips, or they've asked for a couple of paragraphs and someone sent a 5-page PDF. Like, if they're looking for a fintech founder, then don't be the marketing manager. Don't answer that request. So you need to be 100% on point. Read the question. Look what it is that the journalist is looking for. If you have those skills and credentials, then great. You've validated yourself for that opportunity, and then give them what they ask for. If they want 2 tips, give them 2 tips. Like, read the question.
Yeah. They don't. I know a number of journalists in the local Toronto area and retired journalists, and I'll tell you, it's different today, because today's journalist, I hate to say it, is lazy compared to the journalists the journalists that 10 years ago, as an old friend of mine will tell me, who was a day oneer at the Toronto Sun. So that dates back to like 1971. And he'll tell you they used to report. Now the journalists don't do as much digging as they used to do. So they don't put the work in that the old time guys used to put in 30 years ago and 40 years ago. It's just really interesting watching it.
But you know what, Rob? They'll tell you that themselves. They'll say, we're lazy, which is why you need to do what it is that they've asked. And you have to be accurate as well. The amount of journalists that will just copy and paste verbatim without checking links. So let's say you've pitched a journalist, and I've pitched a journalist and I want to get a link for my website, Linkify. You better have a working, correctly spelt link, because if you get the link wrong, as sure as damn it, the journalist is not going to go and check that link and correct it if it's wrong. Like they will just copy and paste on the email because they said they're busy, they're on tighter schedules, they have bigger workloads, and they say we are lazy. We want to get the story done quickly.
Yeah.
So you've got to be accurate.
And why would you, as a business owner or a thought leader, want to put something out there that's not accurate anyway?
Yeah.
That just blows my mind, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I just don't. What now you talked about that there are different sectors that works well: tech, fintech, finance, real estate, I can see, and so on. Where have you guys had the most success in your agency?
Yeah, so some areas which do really well are health. Health is a fantastic space. Real estate, interior design, any of these home niches, any home service industry is really good for media. And this sometimes is somewhat surprising to like local home service businesses. I'm talking HVAC, plumbers, construction, anything from like legal as well, law offices, anything like that does really well because it's continually in the news cycle. And these people have, extremely relevant and easily verifiable expertise. So something which always happens every year in the winter months, car windows, well, especially in the UK, I imagine the same in Toronto, car windows freeze. And journalists are always looking for experts like mechanics on what people can do to prevent their windows from freezing. What do they do if the door sticks? They want these sort of expertise. Now, if you're running a small local business, a mechanic shop, that's not the right word, is it? What am I thinking for? What do you call it?
Auto repair.
Auto repair shop. There we go. Yeah. If you've got a small local auto repair shop, to think that you can be featured in the tier one media might seem crazy. Why are they going to quote an auto repair guy in the New York Times or Realtor.com? But if they're writing a story on something that resonates with their readership on windows freezing in the winter, and you can provide good value, and you clearly are a qualified mechanic or auto repair guy, then they'll quote you. And we've done this multiple times for clients.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's an expensive proposition to do something like this.
It's not cheap, but you can do it yourself. So this is what I always say. Like, I'll be as open and honest about our processes when I'm speaking.
Yeah.
I'll try and give as much value and explain how you can go and do this yourself. The real sort of bottleneck is time. So if you have budget and you don't have the time, you can use an agency like this who can do it for you. But you can 100% do this yourself. You can set aside half an hour a day, look through some of these requests, look at what journalists are writing about, get in touch. I'm not saying that you'll get like a link a week or anything, but at some point it will happen and you'll get quoted, you'll get featured. After 12 months, maybe you can get featured or quoted 3, 4, 5 times. That's already your website's press badge, the as featured in, and you got those 5 juicy logos for your homepage. So as a proposition, it's definitely possible to do on your own.
Yeah. If somebody wants to find out more about what you do, what your agency does, how to go about this, how's the best way to contact you, Chris?
Reach out to me on email, chris@linkify.io, or I'm on LinkedIn, Christopher Panteli. I'm quick to respond as well. And if you just want to have a chat or ask any questions, feel free to get in touch.
Hey, Chris,
one more thing. I've got a cheat sheet as well. If any of your listeners want to grab a cheat sheet where I just break all of that down in like a 1-pager, linkify.io/cheat-sheet.
Okay. So it's linkify.io/cheat-sheet. Go and get it. And we'll put a link to that in the show notes. And Chris, thank you very much and have a wonderful day, my friend.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks. Bye. This podcast has been brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, your digital marketing concierge to help the business owner put all his pieces together, whether it's email marketing, WordPress security, WordPress design and development, PPC, and more. Text Stunning Digital Marketing for all your digital marketing needs today. A very special thank you to Chris for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. The SDM Show is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much every day. My mother, Ann Cairns, who's still doing really well and is an inspiration. And of course, Tiz Maroney. And Tiz, I know I've said it, but thank you so much for all the inspiration you give me every day.